Hi, I'm Debbie Nigro, Chief Executive Girlfriend, FirstWivesWorld.com. I'm inviting back another superstar who's filled with information for you, Sanyika Calloway Boyce here, our financial expert and international author. We're going to talk today about bankruptcy or bust.
Yes.
My Lord. Oh, we got to talk about it.
Goodness.
Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you
Welcome.
so much for having me back.
What I love about you is that you speak from experience of having been in a really weird
Yes.
place and gotten yourself out. You gave your life work, your mission to helping other women get out from under.
Yes.
So bankruptcy or bust. I think, first of all, we'll talk about the different kinds of bankruptcies there are.
Yes.
There are more than one, yes?
There are more than ones. There are actually two primary types that most people would qualify for. There's Chapter 13 and there's Chapter 7. And about 2005, a lot of laws were passed that really changed the way that bankruptcy is allowed essentially for individuals, and so more people are now funneled into a bankruptcy that allows them to charge off some of the debt, but most importantly, it puts them into repayment plans that will allow them to pay off the debt based on future earnings. So what bankruptcy used to be seen as this clean slate, let's wipe the slate clean and start all over again, it's now really become a long-term repayment plan.
Bankruptcy is a very emotional topic.
It is.
It's not
sort
just a
of like-
financial issue.
Yeah.
It is an emotional issue.
It's hugely emotional.
It's a horrible moment in time for most people who have a conscience to have to decide if they have to claim bankruptcy.
Yes.
So is that the best option for somebody struggling financially?
No, generally it's not. It can be an option, but it's not necessarily the first option you should consider or even the best. It really is the equivalent of a divorce for finances. I mean, the emotional part of it, the stigma that comes along with it, as well as how long it stays with you. All of those things really need to be factored in. And because bankruptcy is no longer this wipe your slate clean, it most often is a situation where you're going to be repaying that debt anyway based on future earnings over a long period of time. So you really need to be looking at some other ways that you can consider getting your financial footing other than bankruptcy.
So for a divorced woman, a woman about to divorce, divorcing, divorced, what are some of the pros and cons of filing bankruptcy? Can you speak to that?
Well, one of the big pros is, especially since 2005, when the laws changed in terms of bankruptcy, now it is mandatory when you are applying for bankruptcy for you to have to get credit counseling. So to get credit counseling, the kind of what is called pre-bankruptcy counseling to understand, is this the best move for me? What are some of the things that you can do?
Sure.
So that's one of the pros.
Right.
One of the cons of it is that it doesn't wipe everything clean. A lot of times you're going to get a court-mandated repayment schedule, and because of that, depending on where your income is or what your ability to repay is, you might not be able to
Get out for a long time.
You might not be able to get out from under it for a long time.
And is your credit also affected while you're under
Yes.
bankruptcy? While you're repaying, you can't get new. It's
Yes.
credit's
Well, you
an
know what?
issue?
A lot of credit is definitely an issue. This is something that's going to stay with you in terms of your credit report for at least 10 years. So that's going to be there. There's also the bankruptcy filing, and then there's also the discharge. So there's two kind of processes that go along with it. It's not necessarily 10 years from the date that you initially file.
But what if you have no other option and you're freaking out? I mean, financial pressures keep people up at night.
Yes.
Divorced women, especially with kids. I mean, it's a very bad moment. What are there any upside to it?
Well, I mean, there are definitely some upsides to it, but what happens is, and I think because people are so often afraid and in a panic mode, when it seems like, okay, I've lost my job, I've lost my spouse, I've got kids to take care of, my mortgage company is calling me, what am I supposed to do? Bankruptcy seems like the first option. Well, because of this pre-bankruptcy counseling that's now required as the law, what it does is it allows you to first step back a little bit, have a conversation about really where you stand and really what your options are. That's going to be the most important thing, because often, so many times, you're acting from emotion, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're scared, you don't know where to turn. So turning to...
And time is a ticking, pressure's on, the phone calls keep coming. People are, not exactly at their soundest of mind when they're being pressured financially.
I mean, you have to also realize there's a fee associated with filing bankruptcy, and there's a process. So just
How much, typically?
It depends on the bankruptcy lawyer that you're working with, but it could start at about $500 and go up to $1,500 initially for your case to be reviewed. And just because you file doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be granted the right to get approved for bankruptcy.
What should a divorced woman also know can't be wiped out in a bankruptcy? There are some things that don't go under there.
Some things that don't go under there. Student loans don't get wiped out.
Okay.
Anything that happened as a result of criminal activity doesn't get wiped out. Child support does not get wiped out. Some liens don't get wiped out. And in some cases, property. So even though you're filing for bankruptcy protection, you could still, in some cases, lose a house or lose property that is considered as collateral against the loan. So those things might not be wiped out.
More between bankruptcy and bust, if that's what's on your mind, you need information with Sanyika Calloway Boyce at her website, sanyika.com, or here at firstwivesworld.com. Always a pleasure. Great stuff. Important stuff. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.